Welcome, Jim Peach. Last week, President Joe Biden signed an executive order regarding climate change, and we'll be looking at many different aspects of the different provisions in this order. But today, we're talking about the pause on new oil and gas leases on some federal lands. Will this affect New Mexico's economy in the short term, in the long term? What do you think?
It's a complicated answer, but I'll be quick about it. The portion of the executive order that everybody's concerned about is Section 208, that the moratorium on new leases on federal land. There was a previous order from the Secretary of the Interior, the acting secretary, and we can talk about that later. This particular order does not address permits. It does not restrict permits. 97% of the federal land that's worth leasing has already been leased. And so this particular order won't have much of an effect. We can talk about the previous order from the Secretary of the Interior, which put a 60-day moratorium on new permits. And that is something a little bit different. I would assume that the presidential order overrides the Secretary of the Interior's order, but there may be clarification on that. And so I don't think it's going to have a huge impact in the short run. In the long run, 4 or 5 years from now, we don't know, because we don't know what else is coming down the road here.
These are interesting times, to say the least. We've got a global pandemic, climate change, political change, economic challenges. Can New Mexico also handle trying to diversify its economy right now and move away from oil and gas dependence, maybe? And if so, why should the state be thinking about doing that?
Well, the state depends for 35 or 40% of its total revenue on oil and gas. And that's just a terrible kind of situation to be in, because oil and gas prices bounce around a lot, and they have. The legislature and executive branch people in Santa Fe have known this was a problem for about 4 decades and have not done much about it. Diversifying the economy is something that has off and on been a strategy in New Mexico for a long, long time. It hasn't occurred to the extent that a lot of people would like. We're not going to diversify in the short run. We need to get off of oil and gas revenue, and we need to do that now. And the way to do that is changing the tax system.
I feel like whenever these conversations start happening about whether it's regulation on the oil and gas industry or these federal pauses, there's a lot of talk about the obstacles for the oil and gas industry or obstacles for the state in diversifying the economy. I'm curious, though, if you see opportunities in all of this happening.
The opportunities would be to work closely with the Biden administration to guide future regulations on this. The Delaware Basin, that portion of the Permian that's in New Mexico, is the hottest shale play in the world. And the oil companies are not going to abandon that. It's a very complicated process. We've got state land, private land, and federal land all mixed up together. Some people call it a checkerboard. I'd call it a plate of spaghetti. It's a real mess. And so the oil companies do face significant problems in getting permits, not just to drill, but for pipelines and the like. New Mexico has done pretty well on this. New Mexico oil production has just skyrocketed over the last 10 or 12 years. In 2008, New Mexico produced 62 million barrels of oil, about half of its previous peak. Last year, in 2019, we produced 330 million barrels. The final figures for 2020 are not in yet, but we will have exceeded that a little bit in 2020. The question is, for opportunities, there's still lots of oil in the ground there. And even from an environmental perspective, you can't shift from fossil fuels to wind and solar instantly. A lot of that oil is going to come out of the ground. And so there's still plenty of opportunity in New Mexico for that. The state land office is doing their best on state lands to try to diversify the mix of revenues. They're signing leases on wind and solar and the like. But it's a hard kind of thing.
So 20 or 30 or 50 years out, given climate change, changes in sort of consumer habits, all of these different things, will the oil and gas industry still be a robust industry, an industry that will boost the state's economy?
My best guess is that a generation from now, it'll be a much smaller portion of the New Mexico economy. It'll be a much smaller portion of the energy mix. The electric vehicle is coming. Some people would say it's here. I think it's going to be 5 or 10 years before there are enough EVs on the road to make a dent in gasoline demand. And certainly for a long time, we're going to have a demand for jet fuel. It's just hard to make a solar-powered airplane. And I know people are experimenting, especially in Europe. Airbus is experimenting with possibly hydrogen cells for airplanes, and a lot of things could happen, but oil is going to be around for a while. My guess is that either now or fairly soon, we really will have reached the peak demand for oil.
All right. Well, Jim Peach, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome anytime, Laura.